The ratings are up, Brad. And this is a big deal for a gazillion reasons, but specifically because there's been a lot of talk over the last handful of years about how in trouble baseball is, about the fan base aging out, about viewers watching other things, whatever it is. And this year, the owners are going to sneer at us and tell us that they told us so. So apparently this postseason so far, here are some of the numbers, okay? They're averaging 3.33 million viewers per game. That's an 18% increase across the board just from last year, which boasted 2.82 million viewers on average per game. These are just television viewers. These are broadcast television viewers. The division series, which consisted of 18 games, had 3.56 million average viewers just across the division series games. That's 14% increase from last year, which is the best we've seen since this playoff format began a couple of years ago. Well, that's really interesting. The other thing that I found is that we had 2 Game 5 division series matchups, 2 rubber games, winner take all. That's a huge deal. That always brings extra attention.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter where you fit on the, casual to diehard spectrum. Eyeballs are going on the Game 5. And it didn't hurt that Game 5 of that one of the National League Division Series happened to be in all of Southern California, especially Los Angeles.
Right.
And then the other one was between Philly and New York. So, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the ALDS Game 5 between Cleveland and Detroit was the most watched division series daytime game, regardless of what network it was on, in the last 17 years.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good, and that's tough for a daytime game slot.
It's really hard. I think one thing that helps with that is work from home.
For sure.
And not just people continuing to work. Like I'm still working from home, so it's easy for me to turn a game on. But if I was in the office, there are enough people who like baseball in the office, and it's a chill enough environment which I think some of that carries over from the couple of years that we were working from home, that
Yep.
we could go into the conference room and turn on the game and everybody would be cool with it.
Everybody bring their laptops. We're in the break room.
Yeah.
We're still going to work in
Right.
commercials. It's fine. Yeah. I agree. I think that's an interesting crossover you've taken from working from home and how we've kind of like,
I
we're not so serious.
There's been a culture shift somewhat in the office space in corporate America, where it's kind of like, yeah, we can turn that off for the afternoon.
Yeah. I talk to a lot of people who work from home and then they're required to go in once a week or whatever it is.
Right.
And they say, their argument is why? This becomes a social day, right? We're going to go in and we're going to say hi to everybody that we haven't seen in forever. And we're going to get a couple hours of work done, maybe, which is mostly catch up and maybe a little planning for the afternoon. Right. And then we're all going to go out to lunch together because we haven't seen each other in however long. And then, that always turns into an afternoon nap. Even if your eyes are open at your keyboard, you're still doing an afternoon nap type of thing, right?
I make a quarterly visit.
Yeah. So it's a wash, right? If you're in an office setting and you're doing it this way, it's a wash. So I agree. Turning on baseball is great. Also, I wonder, and I believe they are counting mobile streams. So if you even if you're at your office and you got your phone there and it's tied to your DirecTV or your Max account or whatever it is, then you're just like, it's sitting there and maybe you're listening with your earbud and you're like, no, everything's fine. I have 2 screens. You can't see what I'm doing.
And they're gonna count. I'm sure they can count streams and figure out. I mean, it's easy to figure out how many people are on a stream at any given moment. So I'm sure that they're counting all that too. So
Game 5, awesome, Los Angeles, San Diego averaged 7.24 million viewers on Fox. That's amazing. And here are some we got to talk about market sizes, right? Because New York is the number 1 market and they have 2 New York teams have been in the playoffs, right? The LA market is number 2, Philly's number 4. So the 3 of the 4 largest markets for television broadcast have been represented in the playoffs this year. So that accounts for some of this. But I thought this was really interesting. Ready for this?
Well, hold on real quick, because San
Go
Diego
ahead.
is also top 10 in population.
Yeah.
So that's not a small market necessarily either. They call them a mid-sized, but I don't really think San Diego's a mid-sized market.
No,
There's a lot of
not
people down
especially
there.
when they're playing well. Like, no.
Yeah.
It's like it explodes. They come out of the woodwork.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then on top of that, in the wild card series, you had Houston was
Mm-hmm.
there. They're a top 5 population center. And then, I mean, I'm sure there were people in Dallas who were transplants from Houston watching the
Oh,
Astros, or maybe
yeah.
Rangers fans wanting to watch the Astros lose. I don't know. But
100%.
a lot of the country had a lot of reason to tune into these playoffs, and I think we've seen it. I think it's been awesome for it. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. No, it's okay. And then we gave everybody a reason to cheer for somebody in our team shopping episode. So, like,
Right, yeah.
clearly we were persuasive. And
Very much so.
all
Because
right,
everybody
here's the thing I
watched.
thought was interesting. Fox moved Mets-Phil's Game 3 from Fox to FS1. Okay. They did so in order to put up Dodgers-Padres Game 5, which at that time they weren't sure was necessary, but just in case, and ended up working out. The only other thing they needed to do was move a Northwestern versus Maryland college football game from Fox to FS1 to make room for a Game 5. That's all they had to do. Now, how many ruffled feathers?
There's a very small group of people who actually wanted to watch that game, Rick.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yep.
who is it? Northwestern Maryland? Yeah, that can get bumped. Let's bump that one.
It'll be
That's
all right. What's the other option? Oh, San Diego and Los Angeles? Oh, yeah.
Yes. And
Game 5? Oh, yeah.
there's been some yapping back and forth. Yes, we want that on TV. Absolutely.
Yeah. Are the old dudes rapping again? Because, like, we need to know.
The journalism school, I mean, not Northwestern's more the journalism school, but the journalism school versus the basketball school, or
Right.
baseball. So,
Right.
There you go.
Speaking of broadcast, I have this question, and we don't even have to spend time on it. I mostly want to know what our baseball family thinks. But for those of you who have spent any time watching the StatCast broadcasts, right, that are on like the alternate channel with all the extra gunk on the screen and whatever, the information I think is cool. I like it. But I think the broadcast team is garbage. What
Who
do you
is it?
think, Brad? I don't know.
I haven't watched
couldn't
it.
stand it. I turned it off. I was like, so here's the story. I ended up on the StatCast stream or whatever on accident.
Right.
I was doing my YouTube TV thing, and I was farting around, and I was in a hurry trying to get everything set up, and I just saw the logos, and I went, yeah, that's the game I want to watch. I turned around, and I'm watching, and then I'm doing an eating thing or whatever, and then I look up, and I'm like, what? Why is this so bad? And then I look up, and there's the gunk on the screen, and I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, and then it dawned on me what I had done
And
on
it's
accident.
Fox?
I had selected the StatCast broadcast. Oh, I think it was TBS.
Oh, TBS.
Or True.
Okay. I'm going to look
True
it up.
TV or
Because
whatever.
Jason Benetti, the Tigers play-by-play guy, he
Yeah.
used to do it for ESPN.
Cool.
So I doubt he's doing it because, like I said, he's doing the Tigers now.
Yeah. It wasn't good.
Curious. I'm curious who it is. I don't know. I'll have to look it up, and
You should
and
look,
maybe
because
we'll talk about it later. But
I was like,
yeah, because I'm really curious who it is, because sometimes, because this is the thing. This is the thing that I noticed, is that Jason Benetti. So I'm not going to point this out to Jason Benetti specifically. That's terrible. I shouldn't do that. The broadcast team understands there's a certain type of fan who's watching those games.
Yeah.
So they get real nerdy, like really nerdy.
Yeah.
And if I'm in the mood,
happening.
I'm going to tune in and watch it. But
Totally.
sometimes, like 99% of the time, I have the sound down on the TV anyway, because there's so much other noise in the house that I can't add to it. So I'm just like, turn the sound down. Something happens, I turn it up, and then turn it back down. So I don't know. And sometimes I feel like the TV gets cluttered, like with extra stuff. Like ESPN has the win probability at the top of the score bug all the time.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Right.
And then Apple TV has at the bottom of the screen, they have like a little black gradient, and they say like, "Oh, such and such percentage to get an RBI on this plate." I don't care. I'm
Right.
just watching the game because I know that has maybe a 24% chance of happening. I also know that because this guy's up, there's probably a 0% chance that's going to happen. So
In this scenario, on this type of grass, in this whatever.
well, and given how he's been hitting the last 5 days, and given
Yes.
that it's a waxing gibbous moon, because that comes into play every time, Brig.
Every single
So
time. No, it was like they got the Nerd Out guys, which are great, to do color, which was not good. It was like, if you stay in your lane and you're going to do information and we're going to analyze, that's awesome. I'm here for it all day long. But don't try and be storytellers. I feel like that's totally, it wasn't working. And whatever commentary they were batting around back and forth, I was like, stop it.
I'm out.
Yeah, I have to leave.
That's so funny.
Anyway, that's all. Speaking of which, Bob Costas, and he's getting a lot of garbage this postseason. And people have been really upset with Bob Costas.
It hasn't been his best work, Brig. Let's be honest.
I agree. Though I will say, I saw, and I should know who this is. It was on ESPN or MLB. I don't know. There was a guy, he's in a purple suit, and he was screaming, and he was saying, "It's Bob Costas. Like, you don't get to say yuck. You don't get to say."
Is it
ugh.
Stephen A. Smith?
No, it wasn't. I know who that is.
Oh.
Duh. It wasn't Stephen A. Smith.
Sure.
Yeah, he does yell though. You're right. He's ranting and raving all the time, which I appreciate about him. But, yeah, no, this guy, he had long hair. He's got a beard, and it's dark hair, and he had a purple suit on. He was yelling. He was saying, "You don't."
Long hair and a beard. That sounds like that was on Fox.
Was it Fox?
Why am I drawing a blank
remember
on his name? I know exactly who it is.
Yeah.
It's Nick Wright.
Is that who it is?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm like 99% sure that's who you're describing. Long hair and a beard.
Okay.
Has got to be Nick Wright.
Yeah, it is. That's him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Nick Wright. He said, it was so funny. It was so good. He was like, you don't get to yell about Al Michaels and Bob Costas. You don't get to do it. He's like, these guys are in their 70s and they're just going to saunter in. They're going to do their thing. They're some of the best in the world who've ever done this. You can shut up and listen to Bob Costas. Okay? You can shut up and listen to Al Michaels call a Thursday night football game. Okay? They're in their 70s. He was like, you have no idea who you're talking about. You have no idea. These are legends.
The thing that's funny is that Nick Wright makes enough. They pay him well enough that he is willing to take all the slings and arrows for those guys.
Right.
Absolutely willing to. And so I think that's what he's doing. And good for him. I mean, if they paid me that much, I would be too. But
yeah, I thought.
But
it was
also,
really
though,
funny.
like real quick, he's not super wrong.
No, and that's
right?
why
like, those guys are emeritus, and so they get to call any game they want, any way that they want. And if you don't like it, mute it. I mean,
like tough. Yes, I agree. Yeah. And listen, Bob Costas, man, that dude, he goes off the rails. Like, let's be honest, it's fine. He knows too much, and he wants you to know it, which is great. But but when he's on, that dude is excellent when he's on.
Right. Yeah.
He just is.
He is.
Even when he wants to talk about Stanton legging out, hobbling, to first base or whatever it is, instead of calling what a terrific double play was turned. Or like,
have you seen?
He focuses on.
Have you
stuff.
seen all the memes about Bob Costas and like the way he's describing things? Like there was one where he talked about how Stanton is on his last leg and he needs to be put down like the old horse, like the old racehorse.
Exactly.
And then Ron Darling chimes in with, "That was a great sweeper by Schmidt."
Yeah. Exactly.
It's so
That's what I'm talking about. Oh, it's great.
funny.
It's great. So if you're annoyed by it, you can do what Brad does and mute the television. If, like me, you're realizing that you're watching history, these guys will never do this again. Like we're at the end of them calling games at all. It's like John Sterling. Like turn on the radio and listen to John Sterling. We didn't think we'd get any more John Sterling ever again. We are in bonus John Sterling land for Yankees radio broadcasts. So just tune it in
It's
and
true.
listen. You'll never get these opportunities again, very likely. Okay, I'm off my horse.